Our next topic is basically development of urogenital system. Okay, urogenital system, it is like taken together. Why? Because they are correlated. Functionally, they are different. Okay, urinary system performs the function of excretion, yes, and we have reproductive system that develop from the gonads. So we have two systems joined together embryologically, urogenital system. Today we are going to study half part of that, that is we are going to study development of urinary system, and on Saturday we are going to cover development of genital organs. Okay. Now concentrate over here because I know each one of you जो यहाँ देख रहा है सब दिखता है यहाँ से, हर एक के ऊपर मेरी नजर रहती है. ठीक है, सामने देखो. अगर जब सामने तुम्हें नहीं देखना तो लिखने के लिए हेड डाउन करोगे, अदरवाइज नहीं करोगे. So we will cover genital in the next class. Today we will cover development of urinary system. ठीक है. So throughout हमने जब classes ली हैं, जब शुरू हुआ था, we actually learned that there are three mesoderm: periaxial, intermediate, and lateral plate of mesoderm. So this urogenital system, it originates from the intermediate mesoderm. So both of them, they are originating from the intermediate mesoderm and cloaca. Throughout the classes of the GIT, I told you cloaca, there is allantois, urachus, development of bladder. Throughout the classes, we were discussing that also. So urogenital system, it is derived from intermediate mesoderm and cloaca. So ये तो हो गया हमारा डेरिवेटिव. ये एमसीक्यू में पूछा जा सकता है. ठीक है, यू जस्ट ओपन योर माइंड्स एंड यू डोंट हैव टू मेमोराइज, यू कैन राइट इट डाउन. इंटरमीडिएट मेसोडर्म प्लस क्लोएका इक्वल्स टू यूरोजेनाइटल सिस्टम. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट, ये फोटोग्राफ हमने बहुत बार देखा है. अब हमें कॉन्सेंट्रेट करना है मेसोडर्म पे. इंटरमीडिएट मेसोडर्म कहाँ पे है? So it is situated between paraxial and lateral plate. See, can you enumerate these like the headings of all the parts that have been shown? This part is amniotic cavity. The layer covering it is the ectoderm. This is the lateral plate. This is yolk sac. So this particular mesoderm is flacnopluric, and this is, which is covering ectoderm, is somatopluric. Okay, so here in the middle part we have three parts of mesoderm. So in the middle, in between paraxial and lateral plate, we have intermediate mesoderm. Okay. Now this intermediate mesoderm, it condenses, it forms a cylindrical part throughout from the cervical region to the caudal region. From the cervical to the sacral, it is going to form a condensed cylindrical part. That condensed cylindrical part is going to form a bulge that is known as urogenital ridge. So you have this intermediate mesoderm. Look at this diagram, the distal one. So this is intermediate mesoderm from which urinary system is going to originate and genital system. This is the ridge which is bulging backwards. The medial one is the genital ridge, and the lateral one is going to form nephrogenic cord. Intermediate mesoderm divided into two. Okay, divided like intermediate equals to urogenital ridge. Intermediate mesoderm is going to condense in a cylindrical form, and it is going to form urogenital ridge. Urogenital ridge is formed by intermediate mesoderm. Medial part of this ridge, which is shown in brown color, this is gonadal ridge, and the lateral part is nephrogenic cord. This nephrogenic cord is going to give rise to the kidney. Okay. So आज हम क्या पढ़ेंगे? Nephrogenic cord and its development. So again in this diagram, this is dorsal aorta. Along the side of dorsal aorta and dorsal mesentery, we have this part which is shown over here in the light brown color. This is intermediate mesoderm. The bulging is formed by the urogenital ridge, lateral part of which is going to form nephrogenic cord, which is going to give rise to the nephric tubules. So this nephric tubules is shown in this diagram also. Then in the longitudinal section, now the kidney system, when it develops, it has these overlapping three parts. We have pronephros, we have mesonephros and metanephros. Okay, पहले form होगा pronephros. It is non-functional, it is rudimentary. It is formed in the cervical region. It develops in 4th week. So kidney development, in heart we studied that it starts development, vascular system develops in the 3rd week of intrauterine life. Kidney development starts in the 4th week of intrauterine life. सबसे पहले what is going to form in this nephrogenic cord? Pronephros is going to get formed. This pronephros is formed in which region? It is going to form in cervical region. Now these pronephros, it breaks down into few cells, solid cords of the cells. Okay, these are going to form non-functional nephric tubules. These are not functional, and it is going to form a duct posteriorly, which is going to known as pronephric duct. Both of them are rudimentary, non-functional. Then in the when 4th week is going to get over, it is going to regress. प्रोनेफ्रोस rudimentary है, कोई फंक्शन नहीं है इसका. ये पहले डेवलप होता है, फिर ये रिग्रेस होने लगता है. When it regresses, start regressing, what is going to form? Mesonephros. Mesonephros is going to form in the thoracic region and in the upper lumbar region. Okay. Now this mesonephron, again it is going to have a duct. Okay. So this pronephros, having pronephric duct, it regresses in the cervical part. Its lower part, which is going to open into the cloaca. This is the cloaca. Cloaca is a part of the hindgut. This dilated part of the hindgut, where allantois joins the hindgut, this part is cloaca. Okay. So this mesonephric duct, ये line दिख रहा है पीछे की तरफ, आगे तो आपको ऐसे staircase दिख रहा है, पीछे की तरफ there is this line. This line is mesonephric duct. This is mesonephric duct. It is going to open into the cloaca, and here there are these cells which are going to form. First they are going to form vesicles. These vesicles are going to form S-shaped tubules, and then these S-shaped tubules on the proximal, like away from them, near the aorta, they are going to form tuft, like they are going to form Bowman's capsule, which is surrounding the tuft of capillaries known as glomerulus. Now this is again a temporary thing. Kidney is not forming from this mesonephros. Okay, so mesonephros is going to form in the last of 4th week. Like when 4th week is going to get over, these mesonephros start forming, pronephros start regressing. Okay. Now for temporary, for the time being, what is happening? Mesonephros is going to form these nephrogenic tubules. Okay, which is going to filter out, excrete the urine. Okay, but again, throughout this intrauterine life, this excretion is performed by placenta. So यहाँ पे जो urine excrete हो रहा है, again it is taken into the amniotic cavity, then it is taken into it is swallowed into the fetus, and then again it is filtered out of the kidney. But real excretion is performed by placenta. So here again temporary function is there of the mesonephric duct. Now this mesonephric duct, along with this mesonephric tubules, these are going to regress near about 2 months. In 2 months they start regressing, and in the lower part there is formation of metanephros, which is again the lower part of the intermediate mesoderm. It is going to develop in the sacral region. So kidney का development कहाँ start हो रहा है? This is the main final part which is going to form kidney. पहले तो क्या हो रहा है? प्रोनेफ्रोस फॉर्म हो रहा है 4th वीक में, सर्वाइकल रीजन में उसका कोई फंक्शन नहीं है. फिर ओवरलैपिंग हो रही है किसकी? मेसोनेफ्रोस की. वो टाइम बिंग के लिए क्या फॉर्म करेगा? टफ्ट ऑफ, like it's going to form tubules which are surrounding the tuft of capillaries, glomerulus, and performing temporary function of excretion. Next, what is going to happen in the 5th week of intrauterine life? This metanephros is going to form, from which the kidney is going to develop. ठीक है. So and kidney बन कहाँ रही है? पहले sacral region में, and फिर वो ascend करेगी. ठीक है. पहले कहाँ बनेगी? pelvic region और sacral region, and then it is going to ascend upwards. So near this metanephros, where there is this metanephric mesoderm, which is going to kidney. So in the lower part of this mesonephros, just before it is entering into the cloaca, there is formation of ureteric bud. अब यूरेटर भी तो एंटर करेगा, यूरेटर का फॉर्मेशन भी तो जरूरी है, बिकॉज फाइनल जो एक्सक्रीटेड यूरिन है वो कहाँ जाएगा, इनटू दी ब्लैडर थ्रू यूरेटर. तो यूरेटर किससे फॉर्म हो रहा है, यूरेटर इज गोइंग टू फॉर्म फ्रॉम दिस मीजोनेफ्रिक डक्ट, इट इज गोइंग टू डेवलप एज अ बर्ड. ठीक है सब. So this ureteric bud, when it start developing, it induces this metanephros to form the excretory unit, that is nephron. And this ureteric bud is going to elongate. First it is going to get dilate near the kidney and it is going to form renal pelvis. Renal pelvis दो में divide होगा, क्या form करेगा, major calyx. Further division of major calyx occurs, it is going to form minor calyx. And then the distal region of these ureter, it is going to divide several times till 1 to 3 millions of collecting ducts are formed. Okay, and then this collecting ducts, they are going to narrow down near this minor calyx and they are going to form bilkul pyramid and papilla. So again, so what are the three kidney systems? There is this pronephros, mesonephros and metanephros. Final kidney is formed from the metanephros. Ureter is developing from mesonephric duct. Also in female, this mesonephric duct, because there is absence of antimullerian hormone, there is this mesonephric duct, it regresses completely, whereas in the male it helps in the development of vasa deferens and epididymis and other structures. Okay, so it helps in the formation of the genitalia of the male and it regresses in the female. Again we have three regenerating nephrotomes above, then we have mesonephrons and then the metanephros in the sacral region. So ureteric bud is going to arise from the mesoderm, from the caudal part, and it's going to divide several divisions. So when there are two divisions going to form major calyx, then it is going to divide, then further division. So second division particularly, it absorbs third and fourth generations of division of ureter and it is going to form minor calyx, and further distal division is going to form collecting duct like this. So ureter arising from the mesonephric duct as a ureteric bud, it elongates, then it is surrounded by metanephric blastema. This metanephric mesoderm is known as metanephric blastema. It's surrounded like a cap. Okay, so when it surrounds it like a cap, it induces division of the ureter distally. So it's going to divide, it's going to dilate and divide into major calyx, then into the minor calyx, and then into collecting tubules. कितना होगा total number? It varies from 1 to 3 million. So you can say there are two parts of this developing kidney. There is this collecting duct and there is this excretory unit. So what about the excretory unit, which is going to develop from the metanephros? तो जैसे यूरेटर डिवीजन होना शुरू करता है, कलेक्टिंग डक्ट्स बनते हैं, अब ये इंड्यूस करता है मेटानेफ्रिक नेफ्रोस को कि उसके जो सेल्स हैं, they form vesicles, then they form S-shaped tubules which elongate, then the end which is surrounding the tuft of capillaries which is derived from the aorta, they are going to form proximal convoluted tubules. Then you have this loop which is loop of Henle, and the part of the tubule that connects to the collecting duct forms the distal tubule. So you have formation of nephron, okay, by the metanephric blastema on induction by the ureter. Ureter के induction से it is going to form these parts of the nephron. Okay, so you have this cup-shaped part present near the glomerulus which is known as Bowman's capsule. So kidney function starts, अभी हम कौन से वीक पे पहुंच गए हैं, हम 5th वीक पे शुरू किया था 12th वीक. So urine excretion finally starts in the 12th week of intrauterine life. Okay, stomach in the 12th week, according to Langman it is 12th week. In some other books it is given 10th week, but it starts at the 12th week of intrauterine life. यूरेटर, रीनल pelvis, माइनर कैलिक्स, मेजर कैलिक्स, कलेक्टिंग ट्यूब्यूल, ये किससे डिराइव होगा? यूरेटरिक बर्ड. यूरेटरिक बर्ड किससे फॉर्म हो रहा है? मेसोनेफ्रिक डक्ट. And metanephric part basically forming the excretory unit of the kidney, part of this Bowman's capsule, propicity, then loop of Henle and DCT. Now what about the ascent of the kidney? We have like discussed the formation of the collecting duct, we have discussed the formation of the excretory unit. अब kidney develop कहाँ हो रहा है? Sacral region में. अब इसको ऊपर आना है. So there are some factors that are responsible for the ascent of kidney. पहले तो kidney is increasing in size, so the pelvic cavity is smaller, so it has to move upside. Then it needs better blood supply. There is growth that is taking place of the posterior abdominal wall, and there is also going to be more like when the body is expanding, so there is decrease in the curvature. Basically lumbar and sacral region is going to elongate, so there is decrease in the curvature which is going to ascend the kidney upwards. So there are these factors which helps in the ascent of the kidney. So ascent of the kidney, it takes place in the 9th week. So urine formation in the 12th week, okay, and ascent of the kidney takes place in the 9th week of intrauterine life. So these are some factors: in search of better blood supply due to smaller pelvic cavity, then differential growth of posterior abdominal wall, and the last one, decrease in the curvature. So it moves upward from the sacral region, then towards the thoracolumbar. What are the posterior relation of the kidney? सेमेस्टर के लिए पढ़ रहे हो? रिब्स का क्या रिलेशन रहता है? एंड वर्टिब्रल रिलेशन T12 to L3. So it has this thoracolumbar relation. So it finally moves to its thoracolumbar position. Now throughout its ascent, see, we need renal artery. Okay, renal artery throughout the ascent is going to get derived from different parts of the aorta. Initially it is basically it is coming from the coming as a branch from the median sacral artery. Median sacral artery कौन सी branch है? Abdominal aorta की कौन सी? Ventral dorsal, lowermost dorsal branch. Then it ascends upwards and it is derived from the lateral phlegmic branches, and finally final renal artery, it arises laterally at the level of L2, at the level of L2. So median sacral artery, then the lateral phlegmic branches, and finally renal artery at the level of L2. So we have completed formation of the kidney, formation of the ureter, collecting duct, and the excretory unit of the kidney. Okay, so we have completed development of ureter and development of kidney. Now what about the development of urinary bladder? Nothing much. Okay, आपने क्लोका पढ़ा था, एक dilated part है. This part is again divided by the invagination. This also you have studied. By the invagination of this urogenital septum, cloaca is divided into two parts. The upper cranial part is known as this vesico-urethral canal, and the lower part is going to form this definitive urogenital sinus. So we have basically this urorectal septum, it divides it into two parts. It separates it from the hindgut, that is from the rectum part, and it forms the primitive urogenital sinus. Now this primitive urogenital sinus, it is going to have two parts. The cranial part, which is vesico-urethral, जहाँ पे क्या form होगा? Urinary bladder and urethra, and it has this lower part which is the definitive urogenital sinus, which is responsible for the formation of again part of urethra and formation of genital organs. Sometimes short notes comes on mesonephric duct, so let us discuss about first mesonephric duct. It is also known as Wolfram's duct because the scientist who discovered it, Caspar Friedrich Wolf. Now this mesonephric duct is responsible for the formation of ureteric bud and formation of the collecting duct. Yes, and it regresses in female. because of the absence of anti-Mullerian hormone, but it persists in the male and helps in the formation of different structures. So there are derivatives of mesonephric duct in the males and there are derivatives of mesonephric duct in females. So talking about females, as you are studying for your semesters, पढ़ाई कर रहे हो सेमेस्टर्स के लिए, इसलिए जनसंख्या भी कम है. What are the derivatives or what are the structures that are there in the broad ligament, round ligament? कुछ अजीब से नाम पढ़े थे आप लोगों ने. वो तो उसके पार्ट्स है, मीजोसेल्फिंग्स एंड वो मीजो ओवेरियम, ये नहीं. मीजोमेट्रियम ये नहीं. वो तो इससे अगर यूट्रस से अटैच है, अगर फैलोपियन ट्यूब से होगी. उसमें और क्या था ब्रॉड लिगमेंट? गार्टनर्स डक्ट, गुड. पारुफ्रॉन एंड एपुफ्रॉन, ये क्या थे? किसी का दिमाग चला था? These are the remnants. किसके remnants हैं ये? इनके. किसके? mesonephric duct or the Wolffian duct. This epifuron, parafuron and this Gartner's duct which may possess, these are all remnant of mesonephric duct. So what are the derivatives in the male and female? So in both, अभी हम आगे डिस्कस करेंगे. तो we'll discuss कि ये जो mesonephric duct का जो lower part है, it goes into the bladder and it forms its trigon. So trigon in male and female, it is formed by mesonephric duct. दोनों में contribution रहेगा, मेल और फीमेल में formation of trigon. Trigon पता है? Between the yes, on the superior lateral part there is opening of ureter and at the apex there is urethral opening or the internal urethral meatus. What are other derivatives? So I told you that it helps in development of the male genital organs, male reproductive organs. So what are these? They help in the formation of ducts of the efferent ducts of the testes and epididymis, then vasa deferens, seminal vesicles, ejaculatory duct, posterior part of the prostatic urethra. It is formed by the mesonephric duct in the males. Okay, seminal vesicle, vasa deferens, then you have ejaculatory duct, epididymis, its ducts and appendix, then efferent ducts of the testes. These all are formed by the mesonephric duct along with the trigon. And then here in the females you have epifuron, parufuron, Gartner's duct. All these are remnants. Now these are homologous to the male counterpart, like efferent ductules. These are homologous to epifuron. They are non-functional, rudimentary in the female. Likewise, paradidymis in the male is homologous to parufuron in the female. So these are basically remnants, rudiment structures of mesonephric duct in the female. These are there in the broad ligament. और पूरा short note आता है, बैठे कर रहे हो आप. Next week you are going to have your semesters. Broad ligament. What are the structures present in the broad ligament? एक short note में आता है और एक पूरा diagram है उसके अंदर, वो draw करना होता है आपको. तो बस ये 3-4 बच्चे क्लास में बोल रहे हैं, ये लिख के आएंगे, आप लोग नहीं लिख के आओगे. So these are the derivative of mesonephric duct. Next, moving on to the bladder. This we have discussed in short, this given in the flow chart. No need to discuss again. Ureter we have discussed. Now coming back to the urinary bladder. So the you have this mucosal layer, then the connective tissue and the smooth muscle layer, and the outer layer is going to have serosa. Now what is the difference between serosa and adventitia? Though it is a histology question. Adventitia is covered by, no, serosa is covered by peritoneum and adventitia. Well, अगर आपको याद भी है, that's good. So adventitia जो है वो loose tissue, not covered by peritoneum, and serosa is covered by the peritoneum. So you have this transitional epithelium. Okay, transitional epithelium in the ureter, transitional epithelium in the bladder. So there is inner lining of the transitional epithelium. Then you have smooth muscle layer, and then you have outer serosa layer. So how it is derived? It is derived from which part? From the cloaca. From the cloaca में कौन सा part? From vesico-urethral canal. So vesicourethral canal का भी upper dilated part forms the bladder. Now two ends of the mesonephric duct, they are taken into the, they are absorbed into the bladder and they form inner triangle. फिर जैसे ही वो अंदर लेगा, ये mesonephric duct absorb हो जाएगा, तो ureter की opening separate हो जाएगी. Because ureter किससे बन रहा है, ये mesonephric duct से. Once it is absorbed into this, it separates from the mesonephric duct and it has separate opening. This mesonephric duct going to form ejaculatory duct lower down and they get separated from this ureter. Ureter opens at the superolateral part and then in the lower part you are going to have urethral opening. So there is this triangle that is formed which is known as triangle of bladder. So this trigon of bladder is basically formed by absorption of mesonephric duct. So if it is formed by mesonephric duct, so epithelium in that part should be derived from the mesoderm. With time, this mesoderm is replaced by the endoderm. So whole of the epithelium of the urinary bladder, it is derived from the endoderm. So lining epithelium of the trigon, all over is endoderm. Trigon part, initially it is mesoderm, then it is replaced by the endoderm. Trigon part is derived from the, yes. और जहाँ पर भी smooth muscle part आता है, you need not to think again. It is derived from the which plate of lateral plate mesoderm? Placnopluric. जहाँ पर भी smooth muscle आएगा, placnopluric plate of mesoderm. So this connective tissue and this smooth muscle of the bladder is derived from the placnopluric layer of lateral plate mesoderm. Then triangle, क्योंकि trigon जो है वो mesonephric part of intermediate mesoderm, so it is derived from the mesoderm part. तो endoderm किससे आ रहा है आपका? Basically claw का part जो है पूरा, that is endodermal in origin. So it has both endodermal and mesodermal. So we are talking about this part. There is formation of this urogenital septum. The lower part gets separate and forms the primitive rectum. Now this part, there is this lower part which is ventral. And this upper part is vesicourethral canal which is going to form bladder in the upper part and the lower part is going to form urethra both in male and female. Now male urethra is going to have three parts. Yes, there is going to have prostatic or prostatic urethra, then membranous urethra and then spongy urethra. तो इसका थोड़ा सा development अलग है. Female part, female urethra develops from this lower part of vesicourethral canal and then we will talk about primitive, like definitive primitive urogenital sinus. So this definitive urogenital sinus which separates from the vesicourethral canal. Here you are going to have two parts. See, this is vesicourethral, this is primitive part, this is separation of this rectum part by the urogenital septum which is mesodermal in origin. Now this part which is lower to this is definitive urogenital sinus. It is having this upper part which is known as pelvic part and the lower part is phallic part. Pelvic part in both male and female is going to form urethra and upper part of phallic part in the male, it is going to form this bulbous urethra and this urethra that runs in the shaft and its opening which opens to exterior. So the distal most part of the urethra in male, it is derived from the ectoderm. That is why there is difference in the epithelium in the male counterpart as compared to female. Okay. In female, it is derived from the pelvic part and the lower vesicourethral canal. In male, it is derived from vesicourethral lower part, pelvic part and small upper part of the phallic part. Abhi phallic part as the name denotes, it helps in the development of the male and female genital organs. So this phallic part development we will discuss in the next class. Now what about this ureter and ureteric bud? As soon as it absorbed into the vesicourethral canal, they are going to get separated because वो पूरा absorb होगा तो जो opening है वो अपने आप separate out हो जाएगी. तो opening इसकी कहाँ से open, तो ये थोड़ा lower level पे होता है, superolateral पे नहीं होता है. जैसे जैसे kidney ऊपर की तरफ जाएगी तो ये ureter opening भी है थोड़ा सा ऊपर की तरफ और superolateral हो जाएगी. ठीक है. So the opening is lower down, then it ascends along with the kidney. So both the openings get separated out. This is how it takes place. So mesonephric, what is going to form in the this bladder? Trigon of the bladder. What is trigon of bladder? Trigon of bladder है क्या बेटा? It's a part inner interior of the bladder which is derived from the mesoderm through ureters and urethra. So it's triangular part. The lower part of the mesonephric duct is going to form ejaculatory duct. If you want to take photograph, you can take. So we have discussed lining epithelium, endodermal in origin, trigons, mesodermal replaced by the endoderm, connective tissue and muscles, placenta-pleuric, urachus. So what is this urachus? You know this connection of cloaca with the umbilicus, which is in the form of allantois. Now this allantois, I told you that most of it degenerate, but some part remains which connects the bladder to the umbilical. That is this fold which is known as urachus. Now this urachus, after like birth, it is again replaced by the ligament, which is very good, median umbilical ligament. So there is this ligament that connects apex of bladder to the umbilicus, which is known as median umbilical ligament. Median umbilical ligament is derivative of urachus. Urachus is derivative of allantois. Allantois कहाँ से आ रहा है? It is small outpouching from the yolk sac. Next we have a clinical associated with the congenital anomalies of the kidney. There may be renal agenesis. Agenesis means deficiency in the growth of the kidney. If it is unilateral, तो काम चल जाएगा because दूसरी साइड की किडनी में हाइपरट्रॉफी होगा. बट अगर ये बायलैटरल होगा एजेनेसिस तो there will be death of the infant. Okay, it will be incompatible. Then you have duplication. Let's discuss one by one with the photograph, otherwise you all are going to be thrown out. Now congenital anomalies of the kidney. सुन रहे हो? सिर्फ आप ये जो इसका ये चित्र है, फोटो है, आप इसको देखिए और सुनिए, ठीक है? कॉन्सेंट्रेट हियर, बिकॉज एक टॉपिक आएगा जो आपने किडनी में पढ़ा है अभी. तो पहले हम पढ़ते हैं एजेनेसिस ऑफ किडनी, विच इज डेफिशिएंट ग्रोथ ऑफ द किडनी. सो ड्यूरिंग डेवलपमेंट, गुड मॉर्निंग, ड्यूरिंग डेवलपमेंट वी स्टडीड दैट यूरेटर जो है इंड्यूसेस ग्रोथ ऑफ द किडनी, मेटानेफ्रिक ब्लास्टेमा, एंड मेटानेफ्रिक ब्लास्टेमा इंड्यूसेस द ग्रोथ ऑफ डिविजन ऑफ द यूरेटर. So this failure in the development of kidney, it comes from the failure in the development of ureteric bud from the mesonephron. When there is failure in development of ureteric bud, kidney fails to develop. It can be unilateral or bilateral because induction comes from the ureter. So if ureter is not forming, so kidney is not forming. Next, duplication of the kidney. Now this ureteric bud, ये दो भी हो सकती है, दो जगह से अराइज हो सकती है. इट कैन बी बाइफिड ऑल्सो, ठीक है? तो ये बाइफिड होंगे या फिर इफ इट इज अराइजिंग फ्रॉम द टू पार्ट्स फ्रॉम द मेसोनेफ्रिक डक्ट, इट इज गोइंग टू फॉर्म आइदर कंप्लीट टू सेपरेट यूरेटर और इट इज गोइंग टू फॉर्म बाइफिड यूरेटर विच इज हैविंग अ कॉमन ओपनिंग इन द यूरिनरी ब्लैडर. या तो दो यूरेटर बनाएगा या फिर यस बाइफिड यूरेटर बनाएगा. तो क्योंकि अगर ये कई बार क्या होता है, बाइफिड यूरेटर का अपना खुद का मेटानेफ्रिक ब्लास्टेमा होता है एंड इट फॉर्म्स डुप्लीकेशन ऑफ द किडनी. तो दो यूरेटर के साथ दो किडनी भी होता है. समटाइम्स दो टू यूरेटर्स आर देयर एंड द एक्स्ट्रा वन डेवलप्स लोअर डाउन द यूरेटर, द ओरिजिनल यूरेटर, so they are opening into the hilum only. Okay, and lower down there can be ectopic ureter. Ectopic ureter basically any opening of the ureter other than the urinary bladder. It can open into the urethra, it can open into the vagina. That is ectopic ureter. And why it is forming ectopic ureter? Bladder में नहीं open होके ये कहाँ open हो रहा है? At a different place. ये कौन से केस में होगा? When there is bifid ureter. More so in the bifid ureter, one opening is there in the bladder, and another opening is ectopic. So we have agenesis, then duplication of the kidney, which is again correlated with the duplication of the ureter. And I had this paper also published, like we had a case report, and like in batch 2021 we actually discovered this bifid kidney. So next time I'll show you. ठीक है, बिल्कुल दो यूरेटर थे और लास्ट तक दे हैड अ कॉमन, लास्ट में जाके दे हैड कॉमन ओपनिंग इन द यूरिनरी ब्लैडर. So there was bifid ureter and they were joined at the lower end. नेक्स्ट फ्यूजन ऑफ द किडनी. दो तरह की किडनी है, एक पैनकेक है और एक हॉर्सशू शेप. पैनकेक में जो है कंप्लीट फ्यूजन है, ठीक है, दिस कंप्लीट फ्यूजन ऑफ द किडनी. एंड हॉर्सशू शेप में क्या है, लोअर पोल जो है वो फ्यूज्ड है. अब हॉर्सशू शेप में क्या हो रहा है कि यहाँ एक फॉक लाइक इलोंगेशन है इंफीरियर मेसेंट्रिक आर्टरी का, जो इसका असेंड नहीं होने दे रहा है, उसको असेंड नहीं होने दे रहा है किडनी को, तो वो लोअर हाइपोगैस्ट्रिक रीजन में ही रह जाएगा, वो असेंड नहीं करेगा किडनी बिकॉज ऑफ इंफीरियर मेसेंट्रिक आर्टरी. बट देयर विल बी नो सिम्टम्स बिकॉज यूरेटर अपनी जगह पे ओपन हो रहे हैं एंड एक्सक्रीशन हो रहा है, सो देयर विल बी नो सिम्टम्स. इट कैन बी डिस्कवर्ड रेडियोलॉजिकली. ठीक है, अनदर सिग्मोइड शेप किडनी भी हो सकता है अगर अपर पोल वन साइड का, लोअर पोल ऑफ अदर साइड गेट फ्यूज्ड. लोब्यूलेटेड किडनी, आई थिंक ये तो आपने पढ़ा होगा क्लिनिकल में भी. जब यूरेटर डेवलप हो रहा है तो इसके डिवीजन हो रहा है, इसके अराउंड जो भी मेसोडर्म है वो पहले लोब्यूलेटेड होता है. तो इनिशियल किडनी इन द fetus it is lobulated. with development ये complete smoothen हो जाता है surface. sometimes lobules remains as such, so that situation is known as lobulated kidney. अगर असेंड ही ना करे, पैल्विक रीजन में ही रह जाए, ऐसा भी केस आया था एक बार कैडेवर में कि किडनी जो है वो पैल्विक कैविटी में था, असेंड नहीं गया, ठीक है, या फिर लंबर रीजन में रह जाए या फिर थोरैक्स में भी चला जाए, ठीक है. इट मे ऑल्सो अकर एज कंजेनाइटल एनोमली. ये आपने पढ़ा होगा, टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस टॉपिक, कंजेनाइटल पॉलीसिस्टिक किडनी, है ना. कंजेनाइटल पॉलीसिस्टिक किडनी क्या है, एनीवन किडनी पढ़ा है तो ये पढ़ा ही होगा. यस यस, दिस इज वन ऑफ द रीजन. देखो कलेक्टिंग डक्ट एंड नेफ्रॉन्स के बीच में जो नेफ्रॉन्स है वो ब्रेकआउट हो जाता है, देयर इज अ कनेक्शन दैट इज फॉर्म. बट अगर वो कनेक्शन फॉर्म नहीं हो रहा है तो दोनों डायलेटेड हैं, दे आर फॉर्मिंग सिस्ट, ठीक है, मल्टीपल सिस्ट आर फॉर्म. दी नेफ्रॉन्स एंड ऑल ऑल्सो उसके नंबर्स वही 1 मिलियन लाइक कलेक्टिंग डक्ट, ठीक है. तो देयर आर डिफरेंट सिस्ट दैट आर फॉर्म एंड देयर इज एनलार्ज्ड किडनी, सो दैट सिचुएशन इज पॉलीसिस्टिक. This polycystic again it is of two types. It is autosomal recessive and autosomal dominant. दोनों में डिफरेंस है. ऑटोजोमल रिसेसिव के अंदर क्या है, सबसे पहले तो ऑटोजोमल रिसेसिव रेयर होता है, ठीक है, इट इज रेयरेस्ट, 1 in 5000. ऑटोजोमल डोमिनेंट कॉमन है. ऑटोजोमल डोमिनेंट पॉलीसिस्टिक किडनी इज कॉमन, रिसेसिव इज रेयर. ऑटोजोमल रिसेसिव जो है वो प्रोग्रेसिव होता है, इन्फेंट में ही जो है उसके साइंस सिम्टम्स नजर आ जाते हैं, ठीक है. तो उसके अंदर क्या होगा, सिस्ट कलेक्टिंग डक्ट में फॉर्म हो रहा है. ऑटोजोमल रिसेसिव में सिस्ट कहाँ फॉर्म हो रहा है, ओनली इन द पार्ट ऑफ कलेक्टिंग डक्ट, ठीक है, एंड इट इज प्रोग्रेसिव एंड देयर आर साइंस ऑफ रीनल फेलियर. इन्फेंट में ही साइंस ऑफ रीनल फेलियर नजर आ जाएंगे. देन ऑटोजोमल डोमिनेंट के अंदर क्या है, इट इज कॉमन, ठीक है. Signs of renal failure develops until the adulthood. Then cyst का location, it can be anywhere in the part of the nephron, either in the collecting duct or in any part of the nephron. Cyst can form. So there are enlargement of the cyst and large kidneys there. It is common situation, and signs of renal failure develops late in life, in the adulthood, not in children, not in infants. So this is difference between autosomal recessive polycystic kidney and autosomal. Multiple cysts are there, that is why this term polycystic. These cysts are formed either in the collecting duct or in any part of the nephrogenic tubule. Ectopic ureter, I told you, it can open anywhere other than the urinary bladder. Then that condition is known as ectopic ureter. ठीक है, it may be blind ureter में भी there, तो agenesis हो जाएगा. duplication ureter में भी there. ये फिस्टुला साइनस के बीच में डिफरेंस बता दो, बहुत बार हो चुका है ये भी. तो यूरेकस ऑब्लिटरेट हो रहा है, क्या बना रहा है, लिगामेंट. तो अगर ये ऑब्लिटरेट ना हो, एलेंटॉइस का ल्यूमेन अगर रह जाता है थ्रू एंड थ्रू, इट इज ओपनिंग इन द ब्लैडर एंड इट इज ऑल्सो ओपनिंग इन द अम्बिलिकल रीजन. दोनों तरफ ओपन अगर ट्रैक्ट अगर बन रहा है, दैट इज फिस्टुला. वो कहीं पर भी हो सकता है, किसी भी सिचुएशन में. अगर एक पेटेंट ल्यूमेन है, दो स्ट्रक्चर्स को कनेक्ट कर रहा है, that is fistula. Here in this condition there is lumen throughout this urachus connecting the umbilicus to the bladder. So urine कहाँ deliver हो रहा है, discharge हो रहा है at the umbilicus. Bladder से कहाँ जा रहा है, umbilical region. Then there may be a patent cyst anywhere in the part of the urachus. In the second diagram, there may be formation of this dilatation, a sac-like structure filled with the fluid that is known as cyst. This urachus cyst may be there anywhere in the part of urachus. And sinus. Now, what is the difference between sinus and fistula? Sinus is again there is a patent lumen, but there is one blind end and there is one open end. So it can be like blinded at the umbilical region if the proximal part is open, and this like patent lumen can be there if the proximal part is open, or it can be here in the bladder and this other end, proximal end, can be a blind end. So one end is blind, another end is open, then it is a sinus. If both the ends are open, then it is fistula. ठीक है, अगर थ्रू आउट कनेक्शन है तो फिस्टुला है, एक ब्लाइंड ट्रैक्ट है तो वो साइनस है, और सिस्ट तो एक सैक लाइक बन जाता है इसमें एंड सराउंडेड बाय द एपिथेलियम एंड फ्लूइड इज देयर. Then a constriction may occur in the developing bladder which give it hourglass appearance. There is upper compartment, lower compartment, in the middle there is constriction. This kind of condition is hourglass. Okay, next and the last one we have ectopic vesica. Ectopic ureter padha. Ectopic vesica is, just remember that mucosa of the urinary bladder, it is open to the exterior. और ये क्यों open रह सकता है anyone? हम फेलोसिस क्यों हो रहा था, गैस्ट्रोचाइटिस क्यों हो रहा था, किसी चीज में डिफेक्ट था तो वो ओपन रह जाता है. वैसे ही लोअर इंटीरियर एब्डोमिनल वॉल अगर ओपन रह गई, इंटीरियर वॉल ऑफ द ब्लैडर ओपन रह गया, तो म्यूकोसा डायरेक्टली एक्सटीरियरली ओपन हो जाएगा. ठीक है, यूरिन ड्रिबल्स आउट इन दिस कंडीशन इन एक्टोपी वेसाई. दिस इज एक्स्ट्रॉफी ऑफ यूरिनरी ब्लैडर. ठीक है, व्हाई इट इज फॉर्मिंग इज एनीवेयर, तुम में से व्हाई मिड लाइन फ्यूजन क्या करवा रहा है बच्चे? एनीवन? ये ऐसे क्या पढ़ा था आपने, यूं और यूं? अभी भी ऐसा कुछ था, ऐसे घूम के से क्लोज हो रहा है और क्रेनियोकॉर्डल डायरेक्शन में कुछ हो रहा है. मिड लाइन पार्ट कैसे क्लोज होगा? सिलेंड्रिकल शेप कैसे लेगा एम्ब्रियो? सब भूल जाते हो, इतना कॉम्प्लिकेट आगे पढ़ रहे हो. यूरोजेनाइटल सिस्टम जो पीछे का जनरल में कुछ ऐसे होता है, ऐसे यहाँ लैटरल कुछ, देयर इज लैटरल फोल्डिंग, so there may be deficient lateral folding, तो जिसकी वजह से इंटीरियर वॉल लोअर पार्ट में अगर lateral folding deficient है तो इंटीरियर वॉल ओपन रह जाएगा. ठीक है, तो और mesodermal fails to migrate in the lateral folding, so there is failure of fusion of these lateral folds anteriorly. and ये क्या था, craniocaudal folding, और ये क्या है, lateral folding. तो आगे पढ़ते जाओगे, पीछे का याद नहीं रहेगा तो कैसे you will connect. So it is a very rare condition, 1 in 10,000. Exterior is open. Epispadiasis के साथ होता है. अब ये क्या है epispadias? anyone? यूरिथ्रा पढ़ा होगा तो you know. Abnormal opening of the urethra. Basically urethra opens at the upper end. ठीक है, लोअर एंड में तो हाइपोस्पेडिस और अपर एंड में ओपन होगा तो एपिस्पेडिस. एपिस्पेडिस के साथ में यूजुअली ये होता है एक्टोपिक वेसिकल. तो ये बेसिकली किसकी वजह से है? आइदर फेलियर ऑफ कंप्लीट फॉर्मेशन ऑफ लेटरल फोल्ड, फेलियर ऑफ माइग्रेशन ऑफ mesodermal cells in the lateral fold. There is deficient lower interior abdominal wall, deficient interior wall of the bladder, and there is mucosa that is exposed to exterior. This is ectopic vesicae. Vesicae word we use for the urinary bladder. And this is, thank you for paying attention.